Thanks for tuning in to the Real Women Chronicles podcast. I am your international certified life coach, Tiaudra Taylor. The sole purpose of this podcast is to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. Yes, it's time to break chains and to get unstuck. Thanks again for joining in. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to yet again another episode of Real Women Chronicles. I am your host, Tiaudra Taylor, and if you are joining in for the first time, be sure to subscribe to my podcast. I post a podcast each and every week, and let me tell you, I really believe that God is going to do big things, and I believe that this podcast is going to break chains, as I say in my introduction. So be sure to tune in. Leave me a review if you feel like this podcast really touched a nerve in you and it just ignited some new ways of thinking. Please leave me a review on whatever platform you're tuned in on. Okay? As I stated last week, if you guys tuned in to last week's podcast, I talked about the fact that I was super eager to talk about narcissistic personality disorder. And the reason why I am so in tune with this topic is because, for one, I was in a relationship with a narcissist off and on for 7 years. So anybody who's ever faced a relationship with a narcissistic parent or friend or even a lover, you guys can probably feel my pain. And boy, is that one of the worst relationships that you could ever endure, is that one with a narcissist. Unfortunately, at the time, it took me years to realize that I was actually in love with a narcissist. But once I did realize it, it took a little while longer for me to even understand that this person actually lacks the ability to give me what I need in a relationship. I think the hardest thing is to know that a person is not for you. And once you know, half the battle is won. Trust me. So I'm going to give you some tips on what a narcissistic person, what they do, how they react in certain situations. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to let you know exactly why this relationship is potentially detrimental to your life, to your goals. It's just, unfortunately, it's the worst type of relationship to be in, and I have no quick fixes for it. Okay, and at the end, I will give you my personal opinion on how to separate from the narcissist, and I'll also try to go over why it would be advantageous for you to do so. So let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. So let's first talk about what a narcissist is. I never knew about what a narcissist was initially until a girlfriend of mine she was in a relationship with a narcissist for many years, and off and on again relationship, of course, because the narcissistic person is off and on, so it's not surprising that you would have a constant off and on relationship. But as I was saying, I didn't know what a narcissist was until my late 20s. And thank God for this friend, because she kept telling me, I think he's a narcissist. I think the person you're with is a narcissist. And at first I thought she was just like trying to diagnose some crazy stuff over a person and just talking out of her head. But when I finally took the time out to study what the narcissist is, how they react, their personality challenges, boy, did I learn so much. And their characteristics, really, the characteristics that I learned about the narcissistic person actually describe the person I was with to a T. So if any of these qualifications of a narcissist reminds you of a person you are dating, beware. Okay, so narcissism is defined as excessive interest in oneself, and this trait can make it difficult for individuals to acknowledge or pay attention to others. Okay, instead, the role of other people in their life, in the narcissistic's life, is to provide praise, encouragement, support, and admiration. Okay, extreme narcissism can cross over into a mental illness, which is actually called narcissistic personality disorder. And this is when a person is driven by the need for approval and neither understands nor cares about others' feelings. Okay? And that is severe. And unfortunately, with that mental disorder, you'd be surprised. You would think they could take medication for it. But psychologists and therapists all alike, all of them have been studying years on how to treat the narcissist. The problem with treating a narcissistic person is that they believe they know more than you. As you know, with our current president, President Trump, whether you believe in his tactics or not, he is a severe narcissist. At the end of the day, he lacks empathy and he lacks the ability to really relate to other people. And he's always right. And even when he's wrong, he's right. And that is a perfect example of a severe narcissistic personality disorder. But let's jump into a few key signs that you are in love with a narcissist. As I said with the situation with Trump, one of the first signs would be the narcissist lacks empathy. They can hurt you and honestly not feel bad about it. They can look you in your face after they've said some of the cruelest things that a person can say and literally feel nothing. Feel not the least bit bad about cheating on you, not the least bit bad about laying you out, or whatever it is that they're doing that's hurting you. They lack the empathy to really feel bad for it. And that's what makes one of the reasons that makes them one of the worst relationships you can ever be in, because if you lack empathy, you'll constantly do things to hurt a person. Okay, number 2, the narcissist often uses projection and they lack the ability to take responsibility for the things that they do. Okay. And the only time I have seen a narcissist truly take responsibility is when he or she wants to get something out of that other person. They are master manipulators. So if they want something out of you, if they want you to take them back, or if they want to only for them to do the same thing again, or if they want you to listen to them or do something that serves them. They may tell you what they want to what you want to hear, and they may temporarily take responsibility, but it's not true. It's not authentic. Okay, they often project how they feel onto you. So if they have insecurities, they will project that onto you. If they have if they're not disloyal, they will often point the finger at you and call you disloyal. So they will often not take responsibility for their actions and their wrongs and put all the blame on you. You're the reason why the relationship is not going well, not them. They're too perfect. Okay. Number 3, the narcissist will change you. Take heed to what I say. The narcissistic person will often pick at everything that makes you who you are in an attempt to change you into what they want you to be. The problem with that is the more you change, the more they want you to change. And you could never change enough of who you are to satisfy them, because honestly, they're truly insecure with themselves. They're truly unsatisfied with themselves. So they project that onto you and they constantly want you to change. And the problem with this is if you stay in a relationship with a narcissist too long, you will no longer know who you are. By the time you walk away from that relationship, you will be so emotionally and physically drained and that you won't even know who you are, because they've changed you and molded you into who they deemed, you should be, and it still didn't satisfy them, and now you don't even know who you are. And I can honestly say once you really break free from that chain, that's the biggest relief I think that you'll feel after you go through the emotional roller coaster, of course, of breaking free. You will feel just a breath of fresh air when you're able to truly be your authentic self and be loved for who you are. The narcissist is not the person that will love you for who you are. They are the people that will change you. Everything about you. It doesn't matter how big, how small. They will find something that needs to be changed. Okay, number 4, the narcissist cares more about his or her own feelings than they do about yours. Remember that. a narcissistic person does not care how you feel, especially when their feelings are on the table. Their feelings always take priority. So don't think that for a moment you've worked yourself up to have this conversation with your narcissist. You really feel like you can, lay down how you feel in a logical way to where it should be like a piece of cake talking to them. They should understand completely. You're going to tiptoe and walk on eggshells just not to offend them, because mind you, the narcissist person is easily offended. That is a big sign of a narcissistic person. They have fragile egos. So you can offend them easy, especially when you're trying to relay how you feel. But unfortunately, the narcissist could care less about how you feel. And that's just the truth, okay? Number 5, the narcissist often feels that they're smarter than everybody around them. Again, I use the example with our President Trump. He didn't need the education. He doesn't care about how many degrees you got or how many years you've been in the game. He knows more than you. So have several seats type of thing. And that is the same thing that a narcissist would do. They would often believe, and they truly believe this, that they are smarter than those around them. And that's why professionals often have trouble, again, treating these type of personality disorders, because they feel like they're smarter than the professional. Okay, so number 6, the narcissist person, they are often constantly hot and cold. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, they will take you on an emotional roller coaster and you'll ride it. And your emotions will probably be dictated on their emotions. So your emotions will often coincide with how they feel that day. And I know with the narcissist that I was dealing with, it would be just a regular day and he'd be mad at the world for no apparent reason. I mean, they can be some of the most moody individuals you will ever meet in your life. And I mean that with every fiber in my being. Often the narcissist attracts a codependent person. And maybe next week I'll go into codependency, because, of course, codependency actually goes hand in hand with the narcissist. Most people who they are attracted to, most people who find themselves in this type of relationship are codependent individuals. And they actually look out for the needs of other people before their own. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what codependency is. The narcissist takes full advantage of codependent people. Okay, and that being said, codependent people are often empaths, and if you don't know what that is, that's just people who take on others' emotions. They're empaths. So if you're sad, they're sad too, and that's where that hot and cold comes in, because your narcissist will take you on this emotional roller coaster. Because sometimes they're super nice, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so great, and then other times they're cold. And if you really sit down and think about it, you'll probably notice that they're more cold than they are nice. But a codependent person will probably want to see the best, and they'll probably only focus on the times that they're good. But most of the time in this type of relationship, their bad will outweigh their good. So I suggest doing a list on the pros and cons of the relationship if you are in fact in love with a narcissist. And as my grandma told me once years ago, if those cons outweigh those pros, it's time to go. Okay, so number 7, they are desensitized to others' emotions. I kind of alluded to this earlier, but they don't feel your emotions. They don't feel it. They don't empathize with it. They're completely disconnected. Like, you can sit there and cry about something that happened that day, and they can pretend, but you kind of already know that they really could care less. If it does not involve them and it's not about them, they don't really want to hear about it. I'm going to be totally honest. They could care less about your emotions and how you felt that day. Okay. Number 8, they hide their insecurities through overcompensating in their need for perfectionism. You will notice that the narcissist has this need for everything to be perfect. They want their mate to be perfect. They want their car to be perfect, their clothes to be perfect. But really, the narcissistic person deep down is extremely insecure. And I know that's weird to say because, of course, you're thinking to yourself, well, they think they know everything. They think they're smarter than everybody. But unfortunately,